Oh my God.
Follow me to enlightenment. That's not how they do it in the US.
Might be my husband's best day since moving to America. Ta-ta-ta-ta! It's huge.
Flicking it. Oh my God.
First time trying American KFC, and I'm going to compare it to the UK one. I don't even know what I ordered. I just ordered a load of different chicken.
Ils ont dit sur TikTok, c'est notre dernière World Cup sans enfants. Et là, ça me rend très très triste. On va aller chez Bayou Room.
Look at this. Let's walk to the front and see where we can go. Wow.
Small things, but it makes everyone happier, you know? Like, look. Hey, how's it going?
Going well.
Good, thank you. Guys, I showed you one example. It's like this every day, 100 times.
Because why does every conversation about bringing a major tournament back to America end the same way, with Europeans insisting it could never compare to home, and then quietly changing their minds the moment they land? That's the question hanging over the growing chatter about Euro 2028 potentially crossing the Atlantic. And if the last World Cup taught us anything, it's that the gap between the stereotype and the experience is bigger than almost anyone expects. Before we get into it, if you're into these culture contrast breakdowns, go ahead and hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because this is part of an ongoing series, and you won't want to miss where it goes next. Start with the part nobody expects: the people. There's a well-worn script that Europeans arrive with. America is loud, transactional, a little cold behind the smiles.
Oh, wow, that's bloody lang, mate. That's real good.
It's so heavy. Why is it so heavy? Dinner is served.
For years, British tourists have heard the same jokes about American food.
And then something happens that doesn't fit the script. A stranger picks up a check. A police officer at a crowded fan zone starts cracking jokes instead of barking orders. A shopkeeper remembers a face after one visit and treats a tourist like a regular. None of this shows up in the headlines, but it shows up constantly in the travel diaries, the reaction videos, the offhand comments people make once they're home, and being honest about what actually surprised them. It's become almost a genre online. Visitors who came in guarded and left describing a warmth they weren't prepared for. Compare that to the more reserved social contract common across much of Europe. Politeness, yes, but a slower thaw, a stronger wall between stranger and friend, and the contrast starts to feel less like anecdote and more like pattern. Would you rather live somewhere that keeps its warmth for people it already knows, or somewhere that hands it to strangers by default? That's the tension a lot of these tournament visitors say they didn't expect to be wrestling with. Then there's scale, and scale is where America stops being a country and starts being an argument. Step into an American gas station off a major interstate, and you're not looking at a fuel stop. You're looking at a small department store food court, dozens of pump bays, aisles of snacks that would take up an entire shop elsewhere. The supermarkets follow the same logic. Whole aisles devoted to a single category. Refrigerators the size of rooms. Portion sizes on restaurant plates that regularly become their own punchline in travel content. The trucks on the highway dwarf what most Europeans are used to seeing on their roads. The stadiums built or renovated for a World Cup or a Euro don't just seat more people. They're engineered like small cities, with parking capacity and concourse space that make European grounds feel, by comparison, almost intimate. None of this is subtle, and that's the point. It's abundance as a kind of statement, confidence expressed through sheer size, and it tends to land on first-time visitors like a small shock to the system.
Away we go at the iconic Miami Stadium. It's Harry Kane for England, seeing more of the ball in more threatening areas. Haaland's up. Kane still not back on his feet, and it's a goal for Norway! Andreas Schelderup!
Would you take the tighter, more walkable version, or the version where everything, for better or worse, is built bigger than it needs to be? Nature does something similar, just at a different pace. A European used to crossing 3 countries in the time it takes to drive across a single American state has to recalibrate what distance even means here. National parks stretch across ecosystems and time zones. Deserts give way to forests. Forests give way to coastline, all inside a single country's borders. It's common for visitors to describe the sheer geographic range as more disorienting than anything cultural, a kind of scale that European geography, with its density and its short distances between capitals, simply doesn't prepare you for. The wildlife, the elevation changes, the sense that you could drive for a day and still be in the same state. It tends to quietly dismantle assumptions people didn't know they were carrying about how big a country can actually feel from the inside.
I know it's the 3rd time, but can I get another? Of course. Yes. How many refills do I get? It's unlimited. I love this place. Before they can even back out their shank, they got to put it in their chairs.
Bro, it's mad.
For America, yeah, these are like shacks. These are shit houses for America, like.
Yeah.
Safety is where the stereotype and the lived experience diverge the hardest. Ask people who've never been, and the image is shaped by headlines: crime, danger, a country to be cautious in. Ask people who've actually walked through a host city during a major tournament, and the story tends to be almost the opposite. Clean, orderly fan zones, a visible and often surprisingly approachable police presence, crowds that move without the friction people expected. It's a common enough pattern in tournament coverage that it's become its own mini-genre. The visitor who came in braced for danger and left commenting on how orderly, how managed, how unexpectedly relaxed the whole thing felt. That doesn't erase the real conversations America has about crime and safety in specific contexts. But it does complicate the flattened version of the stereotype that a lot of visitors arrive holding.
Because if you're not outraged, you are not paying attention.
Money is where things get more personal, because it's less about spectacle and more about lived reality. Wages, taxes, the cost of healthcare, what it takes to own a home. These are genuinely difficult, genuinely debated aspects of American life, and no honest breakdown pretends otherwise. But it's also common for visiting workers and tourists to come away with specific observations that don't fit neatly into either the land of opportunity myth or the broken system critique comments about take-home pay feeling different than expected, about the visible confidence with which people talk about entrepreneurship and career risk-taking, about a hustle culture that reads as exhausting to some Europeans and exhilarating to others.
Now you know. Now you understand the fact that I can go to Chili's. I can go to Chili's and get a 3,000 calorie triple dipper. I can eat ranch with literally everything, and there's different kinds of ranch. I don't know if you got that far yet.
Sort of 2. Alright. Could I get a, what's it called?
A brisket.
A chicken brisket. A brisket, darling. You don't know what a brisket is?
Is it the sandwich?
A brisket?
No.
It's less a single verdict than a mirror. It tends to reflect back whatever assumptions a visitor already had about work and money, which is exactly why the conversation around it never really settles. Would you trade a stronger social safety net for a system that rewards individual risk more aggressively? People keep landing on different sides of that question, and that's sort of the whole point. Patriotism is the part that tends to catch Europeans most off guard, because it doesn't look like the version they're used to. Flags on porches in numbers that would look unusual in most of Europe. A national anthem sung, really sung, not just tolerated before a small-town sporting event with a few hundred people in the stands. Small towns that will name a street, a diner special, a whole weekend after a local team or a returning veteran. To a lot of European visitors, this reads first as strange, then as something closer to sincere. A kind of open emotional expression that European reserve tends to keep at arm's length. It doesn't erase the country's very real and very public arguments over what that patriotism should mean or who it should include, but as an emotional register, as the glue that holds together all that scale and speed and noise. It shows up again and run again in visitor accounts as one of the more disarming parts of the trip. Food culture rounds it out, because it's where all of the above shows up on a plate. Portion sizes that turn a normal meal into a two-person job. A drive-through culture built for a country where distance is the default condition of daily life. Tipping norms that consistently confuse first-time visitors and spark some of the more heated cross-cultural debates online. Regional food identities barbecue that changes meaning depending on which state you're in. A coffee culture that runs on refill culture rather than the slower European cafe ritual. It's not more sophisticated or less sophisticated than European food culture. It's just built around different defaults, convenience, size, speed. And those defaults tend to say as much about the country as any of its landmarks do. Put all of it together, and you get the arc that keeps repeating across tournament after tournament. Europeans arrive with a stereotype assembled from headlines and half-remembered warnings, and they leave not uncritical, not uncomplicated, but genuinely surprised by how much of the lived experience didn't match the script. Call it an apology if you want the dramatic version. It's really just what happens when assumption meets contact. The gap closes, sometimes a little, sometimes a lot, and people go home describing a country that argued with their expectations and mostly won. So here's the question worth sitting with, as Euro 2028 chatter grows louder. Would you rather keep the comfortable version of the stereotype, or actually go see for yourself which parts hold up? Every visitor who's made that trip during a World Cup summer seems to have landed on the same answer. If you want to keep following where this conversation goes, the tournaments, the culture clashes, the stories that don't fit the headlines like this video, share it with someone who'd argue with you about it, and subscribe with notifications on so you catch the next one in this series. A quick note before you go. This video is a synthesis of general cultural commentary, publicly shared travel reactions, and broader conversations happening online and in tournament coverage, put together for entertainment and discussion. It's a set of patterns and impressions, not a scientific survey, and it doesn't claim to represent the full, complicated, social and political reality of any country. Individual experiences vary enormously, and nothing here should be taken as a definitive verdict on a place, a policy, or a people. Take it as a starting point for your own thinking, not the final word.